Hello and welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 15.7 or 25.07. Now we've had Neferi go crazy, Darius go crazy, Yard go crazy, they reworked Gwen. A lot of your regular junglers have been struggling more, even though they buffed Jarvan, and a lot of off-meta junglers have now risen. So who exactly is going to be the best jungler in this patch after they've now nerfed a few things? And honestly, we are looking for a stable mid-season. And because of this, we will go over the best junglers overall, for low and high MMR as well. But do not forget, as always, if you need the best jungle principles to go with your chosen jungler, you must head to Virkayu.gg. Not only do I have a free jungle improvement resource, I also have a dedicated program with jungle video courses, jungle coaching classes, a jungle VOD library. We already have a lot of community VOD reviews and coaching classes for Season 15, sharing all the tips and tricks to reach new peaks in this season. All the fundamentals you need for right now are available in a ridiculous amount of hours for content tailored for your MMR so you can climb to reach your peak rank as fast as possible. So to hit your peak rank in Season 15 and jungle diff every game you play, head to the link in the description below or to Virkayu.gg. Alright, we're going to start with Neferi. Now yes, she was hotfixed because the nerfs that they put through in the patch were not enough. I think anyone who read the patch notes thought, I don't know if this is going to do the trick. You want to know why? Because Neferi has more dogs that do more damage, and therefore she overbursts people if she has a good angle, say like an Evelyn or any good assassin, which is what she's meant to be. But instead, she resets the burst on each use of her ultimate, so it's really more obnoxious to deal with. And when you talk like this, that means you're going to build a lot of haste, and the Bruiser builds have a lot of haste, especially the Shojin passive. It means you can now Q way more, which means you do damage more, which means you heal more. And for your E, you can dash over walls more, reposition better, and your in and out in fights becomes quite crazy. The W gives you more uptime, therefore you gain AD more frequently, and it's also worth noting that when you gain more AD, it affects everything, right? Especially your auto attacks. So having Bruiser items amplifies all of this significantly so, and also makes you significantly harder to kill. So the nerfs that they brought forth, slowing down your clearing a little bit with the bonus damage monsters, and increasing the W cooldown, those don't hit that hard, purely because all of the things I just said overtune her. Therefore, what Riot did is now hotfix and nerf the Q on the first hit damage as well as the bleed damage down by base values, hurting her early game before she gets atomization, and the same thing for the E, that second damage base values are down as you scale it up, and cooldown is increased significantly. This will affect her win rate more because now she's losing mobility as well. However, she will stay atop the tier list because she is ultimately the best jungler and the most well-rounded jungler, which means the rework didn't quite hit because she's meant to be a mid laner. But do be aware that her win rate might dip a little. Pay attention to the drops. I will update this in the private Discord as always. Next up, we have Jarvan the 4th because they buffed him last patch unnecessarily, which means he is still running around really with very little weakness. I think the problem with Jarvan is people simply don't want to play it as much anymore, which makes sense. I mean, a lot of the old hats like myself are really bored of this champion, seeing it and playing it for, 15 years. But a lot of the newer players have come up on different champions, especially the Viego generation. I see you guys. So Jarvan is great for your ganks, your engage, your farms, your team fights, everything in a nice measured approach. He is not the best at anything, but he is a baseline good at everything. And that basically just makes him one of the best junglers. Nocturne, on the other hand, is extraordinarily potent. The nature of the jungle hasn't changed much really since the start of 2023. The fundamentals we have that I've spoken about still apply to this day. The map changed, the items changed, new champions, reworks. The fundamental baseline of jungling hasn't. Which means while we do have the grubs now, it doesn't change things from how you used to play Nocturne, getting level 6, playing around it, getting both heralds. Now, of course, we get both grub pits and the herald. It's the same sort of strategy. The only thing that I'll say separates those bad Nocturnes, those average Nocturnes, from the great Nocturnes are the ones that understand when you can actually beat an enemy jungler 1v1, not invading a Warwick at level 2 thinking, oh my goodness, why aren't my Hail of Blades giving me a free victory? No. Keep your Conqueror, keep your lethal tempo, play around it, play around the standard atomization. If you want to go full one-shot nuclear build, you can do that as well. Ballistic, some ADC for the next 25 minutes. But the champ simply is great for climbing in solo queue. Kha'Zix is also great because they buffed him last patch, giving him really high value changes to base damage on his passive, which means when you have Unseen Threat, whether you're ulting or coming out of a bush, that's not something you have to earn, you're just given it, you have it in your kit. The all-in potential with your E bonus AD ratio buff, that's huge as well, just when you want to make sure someone guaranteed dies. Itemization hasn't really changed, but I will say I'm happy to have convinced some Kha'Zix players to go Ghostblade into Profane, even though a lot of people don't like it for the skirmishy fisty playstyle. When you talk about what the jungle is in terms of farming, counter jungling, counter ganking, moving around the map quickly, and having as high econ as possible even when you don't get kills, that's when Profane makes a lot of sense. If you understand why Nocturne is strong, why Jarvan can be strong with a passive buff to his farm, then you understand why Profane will be strong on Kha'Zix, even if it might nuke your single target damage. It doesn't really matter if you've got a 2-3 level lead from using Profane as an investment into your map tempo. Use it well. Yeah, I'm gonna keep Diana here until someone either nerfs her or a counter rises so strong that she just can't play the game anymore, which does happen. I mean, we see Graves go up and down because of his counters this season, especially the AP threats. But she's really interesting, Diana, because we have gone from this full tank Diana build a couple years ago, which was totally broken before they gutted it and removed the items and removed her scalings and so on. And then we went into the AP Assassin Diana builds, which we all know are great. And then we've kind of gone into the AP Assassin plus split pushing build once plates and grubs and things came about and we had that map pressure and we could use that map pressure. Now, while all those aspects of her have been nerfed over time over the years, she is basically representing each phase in her current balance. That means, while she's not a tank, she's building Bruiser and she's unkillable. While she's not a full assassin, she's still killing people without dying because she has a lot of damage. And while she's not going to necessarily light up the split push with this build, it's still more than what most people can deal with. And you still have to send 2 to 3 to deal with her if she's really fed. Diana, potent. Kayn, yeah, I love Kayn. I coached more Kayn than anything else over the past half a decade. Viego actually caught up pretty quickly because he was popular. But the blue Kayn, the Rast, pick your form, pick your build, pick your lifestyle, and play fast and play with agency. Get your form, play around your 6, play very smart, counter jungle and flank for your team fights. Don't go running in as blue Kayn without Edge of Night against a lot of CC and die. Basically, the logical things you would look at a Kayn while watching the stream apply to yourself. There are very few champs, if any champs, that have the option in champ select of flexing to almost any class you kind of want outside of full tank, and maybe an enchanter, although we did have Radiant Virtue Ultimate Healing Kayn a couple years ago. I prefer not to speak on that. Lilia got buffed last patch. She was already strong to most people. Yes, the E being buffed like that helps with your clears, helps with your engages and so on, but now it was a little bit too strong. What they've done is, all they've done is decrease the AP scaling, which isn't really a big one because, again, the Swirl Seed does help with your clears, right? The base damage is nice, a lower cooldown is great, but having that scaling down by 10%, it doesn't really affect your fights, your all-in, your skirmishes, your healing. It's just a little nudge, which means if this was any sort of nerf that they thought was going to remove her from power, it's not really doing anything. She's still an S tier jungler. Go ahead, climb. You're going to see it in every rank across the board. And Fiddlesticks is definitely one of my favorite niche picks. He's been so strong for so long. Now Ragurin finally discovered him. You know, this is the thing. This champion is hard. It's not plug and play. People like to think it's easy, and then I tell them, okay, go do 1 full clear. They're 30 seconds off pace. Then I say, okay, go hit 3 great ults like you just got hit against you. They can't do it because they don't understand the fog of war gaps. Also, the higher you go, the more difficult it is to find those. Your pathing, your anticipation, your placement, your general game sense with your mechanics on Fiddle needs to be on point for you to execute properly. But his win rate is great if you put in a little bit of that time. Play Fiddle, you won't regret it. It's a lot of LP you can get. Live the life of suck. For the A tier page, this is where we have a little less of a shift, however, a lot of juicy picks for you. Hecarim, still one I recommend. You do have the more bruiser focused build, you have the assassin focused build, and you have the, I don't know, bruiser into tank build if you like. Affordable, effective, and really has little weakness outside of your own skill and game reads, as well as specific champions. So as always, you know, ban the Kindred if you truly hate it, always a good recommendation. But he's one of those champions that might not be objectively as strong in the data compared to others, but if you were to lock in Hecarim and try to climb to high elo and you couldn't do it, at no point would Hecarim be the problem on that climb. And now we have Vi, and of course we could make some nonsense up about how she's giga broken and the champion's outrageous. Look, she has aspects of being outrageous, but she's not broken at all. In fact, her win rate is not that great, and it's weird to put her on this list as a simple champion with such dismal win rates. But that's because she's got the one most important thing in the modern game that people love. Well, the 2 most important things: percentage max HP damage and a pure lockdown Giga CC ultimate. This means that no matter what your champion is, you will be rooted in place, chain CC'd, and killed. That's basically what you want for solo queue. Graves is next. What can we say about Graves? He likes to farm, counter jungle, map control, yeah. You could invade and do cheese, don't advise it, but you can do it. You can do a red side quadrant clear into a gank and really annoy top laner or bottom lane. There's no real downside to the champion. He's just statistically not that great, but his itemization is great, and it just comes down to execution of your playstyle on him. I know he's not in the most sexy, beautiful spot, but he's also not as weak as some people think. I think he's just there, he's great, he's cool, nothing's gonna stop you. Next up is Virkayu, much like the same thing. His nerfs were really good. I'll be honest, I did not think they would be that effective, to the point that he's been really great in high elo since then, but really bad in general population. That has now changed due to things that counter him going away and things he can play into coming up. Now, he's still not as strong and potent as he has been in the past, but with the collective variation of builds, and there's a lot of them, it offsets the damage nerf. It gives him that little bit of execute on his ultimate to go with missing HP, to give him the resets. He's got the ability to actually carry games hardcore through these mechanisms, which means he's still great in solo queue. Warwick is one that's a little different in solo queue because I keep putting him here. His stats are great but low. Really, the build versatility is important for those looking to OTP or climb with him all the way to high elo. And yes, he will have issues in Diamond Plus, Master Plus where you wouldn't have them with other junglers, and I might recommend them over him. But overall, for just general climbing and having that great rotational power, the dual ability, and the drain tank vibes, he hits all the right notes. Yorick is an interesting one, and I could put him way higher in this tier list. You could put him right below Nefiri, honestly. The thing is, he's not also plug and play. He does require a little bit more learning, so I'm putting him down here. That's also because he got a bit of a rework. They wanted to make his Maiden and Ghouls more independent from the actual being of Yorick, like not related to his stats. So the ghouls are squishier overall, and instead of having that 15% current HP, they're giving you that flat damage on those ghouls, but now they will shred up to 30% armor for 4 seconds. This means in the jungle, ghouls gain more power, especially so when you remember that all camps have resistances that they can also shred. So in theory, all these changes were made to make Yorick not skewed in low elo, where in high elo he's mega trash. They wanted to balance out his skill curve across the board more, which they've seemed to have done, but he's still quite strong. They did hotfix him as well, because his clear was actually pretty damn good, so they've lowered the bonus attack damage to monsters through his passive there, and instead buffed the healing on his Q. So you're going to be a little slower in the jungle with your clears after the hotfix nerfs, but you will heal, and you'll still be really strong. More tech will come as we refine it. I'm just putting him here saying, hey, this is something you can still do, play it should be fun, reward yourself with a bit of time investment, be unique, split push, and hit turrets in order to win. Unlike facing Gwen, which is absolutely never fun, also the rework last patch, really, they thought they were doing, I don't know what they thought they were doing, but they made her even more obnoxious than she was already. They did try and nerf things like the W on this patch. It hasn't really done anything. If you look at the play rates, the scouting, you see Gwen all the time, the win rate data still supports it. More data will come through, so maybe this will be nerfed a little bit more. But my gut feeling at this particular stage after looking at all of this is, hey, she's still strong. I'm still seeing it a lot. It's still effective. However, a little lower on their tier list after the nerfs we just had in the most recent patch. However, farm, get 2 items, scale, kill people, split push, whatever you need to do. Finally, we have Xin Xiao, which I understand is not the most exciting pick, and I've been touting this for a year. I don't even like the champion. I just objectively think that if you understand high-pressure jungling and you know how to get on the map, push, and win, you can either play Rek'Sai, you can play him to have an absolute free LP gain train all the way up to whatever rank you want. We're not looking to scale and chill, we're really looking for high impact and close. Rek'Sai is great if you're going to OTP or put in that time, but Xin Xiao's a lot more plug and play, like, hey, go poke some stuff, get some wins. Next up, the low elo page is colored and beautiful with all the champions you usually expect. Nefiri, Nocturne, Warwick, Amumu, Virkayu, Yorick, Briar, I absolutely love for low elo. She definitely falls off a cliff the higher you go. Can you use her with certain builds that are coming out of Korea, like, you know, the Trinity Force Warwick build that I also build, coincidentally, by the way. I built the Warwick build with the Trinity Force and the Titanic, as I've always done, and then someone else was doing the exact same thing on Briar. When I did some scouting, I was like, oh, well, that's, you know, good proof of concept. At least the build synergy is great. But it does mean that she has a lot of variety in her build path likewise, and she has great power in low elo to abuse overcommitments, to abuse people that cannot dodge those spells. And honestly, with the phrasing I'm gonna use here, play with the reckless abandon needed to climb out of low elo into gold. Dinah, for all the reasons we've already said, Yorick as well. You can still play the Darius, by the way, it's just not, you know, something that's gonna be steamrolling without any skill anymore. You do have to think a bit more about what you're doing, as much as you need to think when you play Darius. For the high elo page, gonna slap Nefiri there, I'm gonna keep Gwen in the list. Vi is really great here, super great in fact, and it makes even more sense when you got things like Nefiri running around. Hecarim and Lily are fantastic. I had a lot of debate about, you know, do I put Kha'Zix in, who do I remove? And remember, for high elo, it's just really the top 8 presence, the top 8 impact. There is another 8 that you could effectively play with a high 1v9 carry win percentage rate. It's just that that's really based upon your skill, what region you play, what the meta is, what you're more likely to face. Things are a lot more dynamic in high MMR, but it's rare we sort of have everything that you'd see in general population also be really, really strong in high elo, with the exception of Lee Sin. When that win rate in low elo is like at 46%, it means, hey guys, play some other stuff first, get good, and then play Lee Sin. But that's okay, because to be an MVP jungler in any jungler that you play, you need to play like this. Yes, that's right. Click it now.